Hello, in this video I'm going to try and help you with your writing skills by looking at some useful vocabulary for IELTS Writing Task 1, the one where you need to analyze and compare data. So in any kind of task, you're going to be asked to summarize the data, to report the main features, and make relevant comparisons. Let's start with summarizing the data and reporting the main features. Here is where you'll need a range of adjectives and nouns, or maybe verbs and adverbs. Why not? You can see them on the screen. Feel free to pause if you need to take them in a little bit longer, but I'd like to demonstrate how to use them. And I think you already know that adjectives and nouns go hand in hand together, which is why I'm going to try and combine gradual and decline. And I would get something like this. There was a gradual decline in sales last year. Here, of course, I'm imagining a task which shows data regarding the past, which is why I'm using last year and there was, the past tense. Let's try and combine moderate and decrease, of course. And we could get something like there has been a moderate decrease in demand over the past 3 years. The task I'm imagining here shows data that continues on to the present moment, and that's why I'm using an adverbial that implies that the data finishes now over the past 3 years, implicitly until now, and I'm using the present perfect, there has been. Dip, on the other hand, cannot really be combined with sharp because a dip is never sharp. So I'm going to combine sharp with drop, on the other hand, and I could get something like a sharp drop in the production of diesel engines is anticipated for the first part of the next decade. The task I'm imagining here regards data about the future. So I'm using is anticipated in order to show this. And of course, the adverbial for the first part of the next decade in order to secure the timeline. Now, whatever the case is, this is vocabulary that you can use, but you need to use it in a relevant way to the task that you're seeing. So pay attention to the data you are shown and to the timeline you are shown in order to use your tenses and your adverbs correctly. All right, back to the list. We also have verbs and adverbs that go quite nicely together, and we're going to try and combine them in order to show flexibility with the language, in order to use both nouns and adjectives and verbs and adverbs. So I'm going to combine rise and gradually. For example, here, I could get something like sales rose gradually over the course of last year. If I combine increase and moderately, I could get something like demand for tablets has increased moderately in the past 3 years. Or, unfortunately, rocketing can only be sharp, so I cannot combine it with sharp, now can I? But fall. Fall is not necessarily always sharp, it can be slight as well. So by saying fall sharply, I actually pinpoint what kind of data I am shown, which is basically an abrupt decrease. And we could get something like the production of diesel engines is anticipated to fall sharply in the first part of the next decade. As you can see, I'm using variations on the same sentences to better show you how you can vary your vocabulary and show off your language skills. Right, now this is very useful language for summarizing the data and reporting the main features, but you do remember that there is another task you have there, which is to make relevant comparisons. Do not ignore it. So I'm going to highlight some key words that would signal to the examiner that you're doing exactly that. You're comparing. And I'm going to take an abstract example. Outdoor sports were far more popular with the younger demographic than with elderly citizens. Here I'm imagining a task about sports and how many people participated in them. Depending on just how much more popular outdoor sports were, I could say significantly more popular or slightly more popular as well. But let's start from sentences that we've seen before in this presentation. For example, sales rose gradually over the course of last year. Beautiful vocabulary. The only problem is it doesn't make a comparison. So I have to write a comma and continue my sentence with something like, compared to the slight decline they had experienced before. Now I've got a perfect sentence. Now I'm doing everything that is required of me. Another sentence we've had a look at was there has been a moderate decrease in demand over the past 3 years. Wonderful vocabulary. Doesn't make a comparison. So I'm going to continue it by saying, whereas the number of such products on the market has steadily increased, on the other hand. And here's a third example that we looked at. The production of diesel engines is anticipated to fall sharply in the first part of the next decade. Once again, very impressive vocabulary, nicely phrased sentence, but it doesn't make a comparison. So I would have to connect it with something like contrary to its current upward trend. There you have it, the useful vocabulary for writing IELTS Task 1 regarding describing the data and comparing the data all at the same time. Good luck. Now it's your turn. Try to write your own sentences and see how it goes.